Hi, I'm Sam, and I was only 12 when I solved a murder. You see, my dad is the sheriff of our small town, and around here is a local hero. As expected, he is also my personal hero and role model. So, it's not a surprise to anyone that I want to be a cop just like him when I grow up. My mum doesn't appreciate it much, but she also doesn't much talk about it. For me, being a real-life cop has always been my fantasy. I read books a lot. Mystery and crime novels are my favourites, and on many occasions I try to figure out who the killer is right from the start of a mystery novel. Most of the times, my guess is accurate. But I know merely solving crimes in novels doesn't make me a cop. Little did I know I would have the chance to solve one in real life at a very early age. One day something unusual happened in our small town. There was a murder and the whole town was in shock. 16-year-old Jane had been killed in her own house, right in her bedroom, and everyone was talking about it. In my small town, everyone knows everyone, and news here travels really fast. Not much happens around here, just a few burglaries once in a while, and the petty criminals get busted almost every time. Someone getting killed was unheard of. These people needed answers, and the cops were under a lot of pressure. I was terrified when I heard the news. Why would anyone kill Jane? She's one of those kind and cool girls who's loved by everyone. I couldn't grasp what happened. My dad was really confused about the murder. He had not had to investigate a murder for a very long time. He was sincerely concerned about the safety of the people, and the fact that a killer might be on the loose really ticked him off. My dad and his best friend, another cop at the police department, had been working on the case for some days. They have been digging for answers and clues to unravel the mystery, and they were getting really frantic because they couldn't find any hint. I knew how frustrating the situation was for my dad, but what I couldn't understand was what would a teenage girl do to deserve to be killed? I mean, what has she done that someone decided to take her life? Everyone in the town was tense, and the situation was pretty much the same in school as well. People wouldn't stop talking about the murder. Rumours started flying around in the school. Dad says people are scared of things they don't understand, and when people get scared, they will always make up stories. With all the stories and rumours, I was getting more scared myself. What if the killer is never found and he kills again? What if he is after young girls? What if he comes after me or one of my friends? The whole situation was putting me and everyone else on edge. I wished my dad would just find the killer already. I knew he was trying his best. Every night he would spend hours on the front porch with his friend discussing the case and their findings so far. Dad has no issues with me hanging around, and I sometimes listen in on their conversation, but I rarely say anything. I got to learn a lot about the case this way. Dad's friend was convinced that the murder was a case of a burglary gone wrong. In their conversations, I overheard them say that the victim was killed with what they term a weapon of opportunity. She was bashed in the head with a table lamp, which meant whoever killed her hadn't really intended to because they had no weapon. But my dad said since the house bears no sign of being burgled, then whoever killed her had access to the house and must have been close to the victim and not just some random burglar. But who would have killed Jane? Her parents are always away on business, and on this particular night, she was alone as usual. She didn't have many friends too. In fact, she had just one close friend named Tori, and the cops don't think she could have done it either. Dad said Jane was supposed to go to a concert that night, but Tori told her she'll miss it. Wait a minute, a concert? Who goes to a concert without their best friend? Something is not adding up here. Wheels were turning in my small detective mind. This isn't one of your fancy novel stories, I told myself. This is real life. I decided to let the thoughts slide, but continued to listen to my dad's conversation with his friend anyways. The next day at school was just like the last. Everyone was still talking about Jane's murder, and the stories were getting weirder and scarier. I started thinking more about it, wondering if there was any way I could help find the killer. Just like everyone else, the thought of a killer roaming the streets freely in our small town scared me, and I felt as responsible to find him. The next day, Dad's friend came over to go over the details of the murder like they usually do. This time, I was listening in on their conversation with rapt attention. Dad's friend insists on the burglary theory, but he can't prove anything is missing in the room. The girl's purse, phone, and other valuables were right there in the room where she was murdered, and none of those things had been stolen. With nothing missing, it's hard to conclude. For a moment, I let the little detective in me set to work. I think long and hard for a while, and come up with nothing. I searched for clues based on what I've heard so far, but still couldn't come up with anything. Heck, being a cop isn't easy. My head hurts already from thinking too much. Then, a thought crossed my mind. Maybe something is indeed missing, but the cops don't even know it yet. "Did you check the girl's closet?" I asked, cutting into their conversation. I know I shouldn't have done that, but the theory forming in my mind was simply too exciting to ignore. I wonder what my dad would think about me listening in on their conversation, or even cutting in the way I did. Dad and his friend looked at me confused, but he answered all the same. Yes, we did check the closet. Nothing seemed to be missing there. It was a jungle in there, Dad's friend says. Lots of bags and a few shoes. Did he just say a few shoes? Everyone at school knows Jane had tons of shoes. Where did all the shoes go? I zoned off for a moment and got excited. If shoes were missing, then a girl might be the thief and killer. And the closet suspect here is Tori. I was dazed for a minute. I couldn't tell exactly how I was feeling at that moment. While I was excited at the prospects of my discovery, I wasn't quite sure about telling my dad yet. What if I am wrong about this and Tori is innocent? I could get into a lot of trouble. What would Dad feel about me intruding into the investigation? The next day at school was torture. All around me, people were still talking about the murder. The mere fact that I might have the answer to the question everyone was asking made it listening to their conversations a lot harder. I have to do something about it. I decided to tell my dad about it. He shouldn't be too angry. I was only trying to help. And so far, I haven't even done anything wrong. I think Tori might have killed her friend accidentally. I told my dad the moment I got a chance to speak to him after school. I went ahead to tell him my thoughts about the case. I knew both girls from school. The thing is, while Jane's parents are rich and she had everything, Tori's parents weren't. Jane had too much of everything, so much that Tori might have felt that if she stole a few of her friend's shoes and bags, she wouldn't even notice. The concert was her perfect opportunity. She would sneak in when Jane was away, which is why she intentionally missed the concert. But it seems Jane returned while the burglary was on, which led to a struggle that resulted in her death. Of course, my theory wasn't 100% accurate, but it was close enough to get the cops to take a closer look at Tori. She turned out to be guilty, just as I predicted. The cops had missed the major details because they were adults. None of them expected a girl missing a concert or a few missing shoes and bags to lead to a murder. Adults don't think those small things matter, but for teens, it is everything. My dad commended my contributions and said it helped them solve the entire case. I know he is proud of me. As for me, I felt really proud of myself too. Maybe I might indeed have a knack for solving mysteries after all, and might even grow up to become a detective in the future.